Well, staying in Turkey, a delegation from the US Justice Department has arrived in Ankara to discuss the extradition of the man accused by Turkey of being behind the recent coup attempt. Fethullah Gulen, a cleric and businessman, has lived in the US since 1998. Washington says it will only hand him over to Turkish authorities if presented with proof of his involvement in the coup. The delegation arrives one day ahead of Vice President Joe Biden. Well, TRT World correspondent Iolo Dafydd is in Ankara and he joins us now live. Iolo, plenty on the agenda for Turkish and American officials then to discuss.
There are, not just about the possible extradition and the legal process of Fethullah Gulen, this cleric who's resided in America for a few decades now, and of course who's accused not just of being involved in the July the 15th attempted coup, but of other allegations against him as well, dating back 3 years ago, and the people who follow him, people that are called Gulenists. Now then, there's that to contend with, and that's why there are 3 officials here from the Ministry of Justice, as well as 1 State Department official, and they're preparing the way in terms of the legal and the technical arguments and the necessities before the Vice President Joe Biden is here. But of course there are plenty of other issues as well, not least involving NATO and European Union countries, which are allies of Turkey and allies of the United States as well. And of course there's fighting on both sides of the Turkish-Syrian border. So there's plenty for these officials to knuckle down and talk to their counterpart in Turkey. And then there's another high-level visit by the Ministry of Justice, the Minister for Justice here and the Foreign Minister. They will then go to the United States to talk in Washington about more of this evidence which has been presented to the Americans.
You've touched on the fact that there are a number of for want of a better word, sticking points, I guess, between America and Turkey right now, and it's also relations with the EU are slightly strained. How would you describe Turkey's relationship with the West right now?
Well, I think only from listening to the Prime Minister and the President here in Turkey, you get a fair, and also Cavusoglu, the Foreign Minister, you get a fair assessment that the Turkish government are unhappy, definitely unhappy with some of their allies in Europe and in North America. They're unhappy because they feel that possibly there hasn't been enough empathy. There hasn't been a high-level visit from a senior politician. Joe Biden will be the first in terms of coming here to Turkey after an attempted coup which attempted to overthrow a democratically elected government. There was almost a sense of ambivalence. That's the idea that you get from reading the media and listening to politicians here in Turkey. Now, the other side of the argument is, and we have heard state officials in America, in Washington, saying this isn't about a political decision whether to extradite Gulen or not. This is a legal process under an extradition agreement that was signed in 1979. So the emotion and the politics is not a part of this legal decision. On the other hand, then, of course, you do have that added element of NATO. And there are plenty of countries which are based in one of the air bases in southern Turkey, which are involved in what's happening in Syria, as indeed are Turkey along the border now, and of course the Americans with their support, their much publicized support for PYD in northern Syria. It's a very complicated picture, and what will be difficult for Joe Biden tomorrow and the officials today is to divorce these elements on the extradition and the legal and technical requirements here with all the other things which have been going on over the last few weeks. Yes, the attempted coup in July, yes, but even before that, the last few years.
Okay, Iolo, thank you very much.